Roman Reigns returns and betrays Seth Rollins as Brock Lesnar targets Cody Rhodes. Roman Reigns just committed the most shocking betrayal in WWE history, and what he did to Seth Rollins has completely shattered the Shield legacy while creating a new alliance so dangerous that even Brock Lesnar is strategically positioning himself to destroy everyone involved. The tribal chief didn't just return to WWE, he returned with a master plan so calculated and so brutal that it's already rewritten the entire main event landscape, and the casualties of his strategy are piling up faster than anyone can process. But here's what's going to absolutely infuriate you. Roman Reigns played Seth Rollins like a fiddle, spending weeks pretending to consider reforming their brotherhood while secretly negotiating with the very people Seth has been at war with. The betrayal wasn't spontaneous, it was meticulously planned, and every word Roman spoke to Seth about unity and family was a lie designed to position Seth for maximum destruction at the exact moment Roman decided to strike. Meanwhile, Brock Lesnar has been watching this entire situation unfold from the shadows, and his decision to target Cody Rhodes isn't random. It's a strategic move to eliminate the one person who could potentially unite WWE's divided roster against the chaos that Roman's return has created. Brock sees the bigger picture that everyone else is missing, and his plan to systematically dismantle Cody Rhodes is designed to ensure that when the dust settles, the beast incarnate will be standing on top of a mountain of broken bodies and shattered alliances. The most terrifying part is that Roman's betrayal of Seth and Brock's targeting of Cody are connected in ways that won't become clear until it's too late for anyone to stop what's coming. We're watching the setup for the most destructive power struggle WWE has ever seen, and the three men who think they're in control, Roman, Brock, and Cody, are about to discover they're all pieces on a chessboard being manipulated by forces they don't fully understand yet. WWE is about to explode into chaos that will make the Monday Night Wars look like a friendly disagreement, and the question isn't whether careers will be destroyed, it's whose careers will survive what's coming. Let me tell you exactly how Roman's betrayal went down, why Seth never saw it coming, and how Brock Lesnar's strategy to destroy Cody Rhodes fits into a larger war for control of WWE's future. Roman Reigns' return to WWE was announced with all the fanfare and drama you'd expect for someone of his stature. The tribal chief had been away dealing with what WWE officially described as personal matters, but backstage sources indicated he was actually negotiating the terms of his return and making sure he'd have creative control over how his comeback was presented. The interesting part was how quickly Seth Rollins reached out to Roman after the return was announced. Seth had been openly struggling with his position in WWE, feeling like he was stuck in the midcard despite being one of the company's most accomplished performers. When Roman returned, Seth saw an opportunity to recapture some of the magic and momentum they'd had together during their Shield days. Seth publicly extended an olive branch to Roman, suggesting they put aside past differences and work together to dominate WWE the way they once dominated as brothers. The wrestling world watched with fascination as Roman seemed to consider Seth's proposal, engaging in backstage conversations that were carefully leaked to wrestling media to build anticipation for a potential Shield reunion or at least a reformation of their alliance. For 3 weeks, Roman and Seth were spotted having intense discussions backstage at various WWE events. They were seen laughing together, doing the Shield fist bump for cameras, and giving interviews where they talked about unfinished business and recapturing what made them great. Fans were eating it up, social media was buzzing with excitement, and merchandise featuring both men started flying off the shelves in anticipation of their reunion. But the entire thing was a setup, and Seth Rollins was too desperate for relevance to see the trap being laid. The betrayal happened on Monday Night Raw during what was supposed to be the official announcement of Roman and Seth's renewed partnership. They were scheduled to appear together in the ring, address the WWE Universe about their plans, and presumably set up a dominant run where they'd destroy everyone in their path. Seth came to the ring first, microphone in hand, looking genuinely happy for the first time in months. He talked about how wrestling is better when he and Roman are working together, how they'd built empires before and were ready to do it again, and how anyone who stood in their way was going to learn why the Shield had been the most dominant force in WWE history. Then Roman's music hit, and the tribal chief made his entrance with Paul Heyman by his side. The crowd was electric with anticipation, and Seth was smiling in the ring, waiting for his brother to join him and make their reunion official. But Roman stopped at the top of the ramp, and the smile on his face was predatory rather than friendly. Paul Heyman stepped forward with a microphone and began speaking in that distinctive way that immediately signals something isn't right. "Ladies and gentlemen, my tribal chief Roman Reigns has asked me to deliver a message to Seth Rollins and to all of you who thought you were about to witness a reunion." Seth's expression started to change as he realized something was very wrong. "The tribal chief wants you to understand something," Seth, Heyman continued. "Everything you thought was happening over the past 3 weeks? Every conversation, every handshake, every moment where you believed Roman was considering your proposal? That was Roman Reigns doing what he does best, manipulating his opponents into vulnerable positions before he destroys them completely." The arena went silent as the implications of what Heyman was saying sank in. This wasn't a reunion. This was a trap, and Seth had walked right into it. Roman took the microphone from Heyman, and what he said next was devastating in its coldness and brutality. "Seth, you really thought I came back to WWE to be your partner? To help you recapture relevance because your career has stalled and you're desperate for anything that will make you matter again? Brother, I don't need you. I never needed you. The Shield worked because I allowed it to work, and the moment I decided to acknowledge my destiny as the head of the table, the Shield became irrelevant. Just like you've become irrelevant. Seth looked like he'd been physically struck. The betrayal wasn't just professional, it was deeply personal, attacking Seth's worth and accomplishments in front of millions of viewers. But Roman wasn't finished destroying his former brother. For 3 weeks, I let you believe we were going to work together. I let you think you still mattered to me, that our history meant something. And you know why I did that? Because I needed you off guard. I needed you vulnerable. I needed you so desperate for this reunion that you wouldn't see what was actually happening until it was too late. As Roman spoke, figures started appearing at the top of the ramp behind him. The Bloodline members, Solo Sikoa, the Usos when they're aligned with Roman, and other allies, began assembling as a show of force. But there was someone else emerging from the back, someone whose presence made the entire situation exponentially more dangerous. Brock Lesnar walked out and stood beside Roman Reigns, and the wrestling world collectively lost its mind. The alliance that no one saw coming had just been revealed in the most devastating way possible. Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, two men who'd been rivals for years, two of the most dominant forces in WWE history, were now working together, and their first target was Seth Rollins. Seth tried to escape the ring, but it was too late. The Bloodline and Brock surrounded the ring from all sides, cutting off every exit. What followed was one of the most brutal beatdowns in WWE history, with Seth being systematically destroyed by multiple attackers while Roman and Brock watched from the ramp, surveying the destruction they'd orchestrated. The attack went on for several minutes, with referees and officials unable to stop it because they were physically overwhelmed by the numbers and the intensity. By the time security finally restored order, Seth Rollins was lying motionless in the ring, and Roman Reigns had sent the clearest possible message: the tribal chief was back, he was more dangerous than ever, and anyone who stood against him would be destroyed without mercy. But the story doesn't end with Seth's destruction. Because while Roman was executing his betrayal on Raw, Brock Lesnar's real target was being set up on a completely different front. Cody Rhodes had been watching the Roman-Seth situation unfold over the previous weeks with growing concern. As someone who'd battled Roman extensively and understood how the tribal chief operated, Cody recognized that something didn't feel right about the reunion narrative. He tried to warn Seth privately, but Seth was too invested in the idea of recapturing his former glory to listen to concerns about Roman's sincerity. When Roman's betrayal was revealed, Cody immediately understood the implications. This wasn't just about destroying Seth Rollins, it was about Roman reasserting dominance over WWE's entire main event scene. And Cody, as the current face of the company and the man who'd ended Roman's historic championship reign, was inevitably going to be the next major target. What Cody didn't fully grasp was that Brock Lesnar's involvement wasn't just about helping Roman. Brock had his own agenda, and that agenda specifically required eliminating Cody Rhodes before Cody could mount any kind of resistance to the chaos that Roman's return was creating. Brock's strategy became clear during the following SmackDown when he interrupted Cody's championship celebration and delivered a chilling message: "Cody Rhodes, you think finishing your story and beating Roman Reigns made you special? You think you're the hero of WWE now? Let me tell you what you actually are: you're an obstacle that needs to be removed before the real war begins. And I'm very good at removing obstacles." The way Brock delivered that threat made it clear this wasn't about championship aspirations or settling old scores. This was strategic elimination. Brock was positioning Cody not as a rival but as a problem that needed to be solved, and Brock's solutions to problems typically involve extreme violence and career-threatening injuries. Over the following weeks, Brock began systematically dismantling everyone in Cody's inner circle. He attacked Cody's tag team partners, injured wrestlers who'd aligned themselves with Cody's vision for WWE, and created an atmosphere of fear where people were afraid to be associated with the American Nightmare because it made them targets for the Beast's aggression. The psychological warfare was brilliant and terrifying. Brock wasn't just attacking Cody directly, he was isolating him, removing his support system, and ensuring that when the final confrontation came, Cody would be alone and vulnerable with no one willing to risk helping him. But the most shocking revelation came when it became clear that Roman and Brock's alliance was more than just convenience, it was based on a shared vision for WWE's future that directly conflicted with everything Cody represented. Roman represents the establishment of hierarchy and acknowledgement of traditional power structures. He believes WWE should be controlled by those who've earned the right through dominance and proven superiority. Cody represents the opposite philosophy, that WWE should be open to anyone with the talent and drive to succeed, regardless of pedigree or politics. These competing visions for what WWE should be are fundamentally incompatible, and the conflict between them is going to tear the company apart. Roman and Brock have aligned to enforce their vision through force, while Cody is trying to rally people who believe in meritocracy and opportunity. The problem for Cody is that Roman and Brock are willing to use methods that Cody isn't. They'll betray, manipulate, and physically destroy anyone who opposes them. Cody is trying to fight honorably and preserve his principles while his opponents have no such limitations. Now here's the question that's going to determine whose side you're on. Do you support Roman and Brock's philosophy that WWE should be controlled by proven dominant forces who enforce hierarchy through power? Or do you support Cody's vision of an open meritocracy where anyone can rise to the top through talent and hard work? Your answer reveals your broader beliefs about how organizations should function and whether you value tradition and established order or opportunity and disruption. Here's the even more complicated question: was Roman justified in betraying Seth if Seth was genuinely becoming irrelevant and dragging down Roman's return by association? Should personal loyalty matter more than strategic positioning and career optimization? Because the uncomfortable truth is that Roman might have been right about Seth's desperation and declining relevance. Seth was clinging to the Shield legacy because his own individual brand had lost momentum, and Roman ruthlessly cutting that anchor loose might have been the smart business decision even if it was morally questionable. Tell me in the comments, do you think Seth Rollins should have seen Roman's betrayal coming, or was Roman so convincing in his deception that anyone would have fallen for it? And do you think Seth can ever recover from being destroyed so completely by someone he trusted? And here's what I really want to know: between Roman, Brock, and Cody, who do you think is actually going to come out on top of this three-way power struggle? Because right now, Roman has the numbers and the strategy, Brock has the pure destructive capability, and Cody has the fan support and moral authority, but none of those advantages guarantees victory in the war that's coming. The betrayal of Seth Rollins wasn't just a shocking moment, it was the opening move in a campaign that's going to reshape WWE completely. Roman Reigns is back with a vengeance and more dangerous than ever because he's willing to sacrifice anyone and everyone to maintain his position. Brock Lesnar has revealed himself as a strategic thinker rather than just a beast, and his calculated targeting of Cody Rhodes shows he's playing the long game rather than just seeking immediate violence. And Cody Rhodes, the man who finished his story and thought he'd earned the right to shape WWE's future, is discovering that powerful forces are aligned against him who don't care about stories or legacies or doing what's right, they only care about power and dominance. The real question is whether Cody can find allies who'll stand with him despite the danger, or if Roman and Brock's reign of terror will convince everyone that resistance is futile and the only smart move is to acknowledge the tribal chief and fear the beast. What we're witnessing is the beginning of a war for WWE's soul, and there's no way everyone survives what's coming.